Major breaking news from last night. Bill Clinton has sepsis from a urinary tract infection and is currently in the ICU. Now, Daily Mail says that he is on the mend. He is responding well to antibiotics. After 2 days of treatment, Hillary Clinton has gone to visit him. And we'll break down the gist of this story. I think it's important. I mean, this is a former president. But I think people need to understand something much more important. Bill Clinton is 3 years younger than Joe Biden. And the American people think Joe Biden is mentally unfit. But I have to question someone of this age, between 75 and 78. Where has Joe Biden's medical assistance been? I mean, perhaps he's just a spry and healthy old man. But considering the brain surgery that Joe Biden's had, and I mean this with all due respect, I'm not trying to disparage him over the fact that he's, received these surgeries. And I certainly hope Bill Clinton comes out okay on this one. And I'll recognize, people get old and people get old and people die. But I have to assume that someone of this age is going to be undergoing frequent medical treatments or checkups. Perhaps this is why Joe Biden keeps going back to Delaware, where he doesn't keep a log of who is visiting him. And again, with no disrespect, but I have to imagine a doctor is coming to check up on him. And I suppose it'd be a good thing. As bad of a president as he is, we want to make sure he's at least alive. I don't know if people would be happier with Kamala. Some people probably would be. Kamala, whatever. Let's read the story from the Daily Mail, and then we'll talk about the age of the current president as it pertains to this story. The Daily Mail says, Hillary Clinton has been pictured visiting her husband, Bill Clinton, the California ICU, his intensive care unit, as the former president battles sepsis caused by a urinary tract infection. A spokesman for the Democrat commander-in-chief said last night he is on the mend, having been admitted for treatment for a non-COVID issue. He's been talking to staff and family and walking around, it was reported. A somber-looking Hillary, who was in California with her husband for his appearance at an event in relation to his foundation, was pictured flanked by security officers as she entered the unit last night before being driven away in the back of a car. We can see more photos here. It looks like she's with, is that Huma Abedin? I'm not entirely sure. They don't say in the captions. She's wearing a mask, too. So we see these photos. Statement from me on President Clinton. On Tuesday evening, President Clinton was admitted to the UCI Medical Center to receive treatment for a non-COVID related infection. He's on the mend, in good spirits, and incredibly thankful to the doctors, nurses, and staff providing him with excellent care. Statement from the physician, Dr. Lisa Bardak. President Clinton was taken to UC Irvine Medical Center and diagnosed with an infection. He was admitted to the hospital for close monitoring and administered IV antibiotics and fluids. He remains at the hospital for continuous monitoring. After 2 days of treatment, his white blood cell count is trending down and he is responding to antibiotics well. The California-based medical team has been in constant communication with the president's New York-based medical team, including his cardiologist. We hope to have him go home soon. So let's just a quick understanding of sepsis. And I think this does pertain to what we see with Joe Biden. The silent killer, everything you need to know about sepsis, reports the Daily Mail. The life-threatening condition strikes when an infection triggers a violent immune response in which the body attacks its own organs. It can happen as a result of any type of infection, whether caused by a virus, bacteria, or fungus. Sepsis may progress to septic shock, a dramatic drop in blood pressure that can lead to severe organ damage and death. If caught early, the infection can be controlled by antibiotics before the body goes into overdrive. More than 11 billion people around the world, including 45,000 in the UK and 270,000 in the US, die of sepsis each year, data suggests. It means the illness, which is known as the silent killer, claims more lives than smoking and pollution. But the very early symptoms of sepsis can be easily confused with more mild conditions, meaning it can be difficult to diagnose. They say the mnemonic sepsis, slurred speech or confusion, extreme shivering or muscle pain, passing no urine in a day, severe breathlessness, it feels like you are dying, skin mottled or discolored. Now they want to mention the health issues of former President Bill Clinton. And look, I'm not here to question the mental integrity of Bill Clinton. He's not the president. But I am here to point out something that a lot of people were kind of shocked to discover. While Bill Clinton, 75, is currently in the ICU with this medical condition, people started to say, hey, wait a minute. Isn't Joe Biden older than Bill Clinton? Yes. I want to just quickly show you some photos just for context and then talk about the news and talk about Joe Biden as president and some questions that need to be answered. This is a photo. I tried to find a good photo of Joe Biden. I'm not trying to pull up some photo of him looking all decrepit and deranged. I wanted a regular looking photo This may be touched up. I don't know. And that's the challenge. But you can see quite an old man. We have here a current photo of Bill Clinton. It's comparable, in my opinion. And a photo of Bill Clinton when he was president, a much, much younger man. My friends, I do not believe Joe Biden is physically or mentally fit to be the president of the United States. And I think people voted for him because they hated Trump. I think most of you know this. And I think this spells very serious, this presents very serious dangers to our country. Let's take a look at this. Did Joe Biden have brain surgery? Former Vice President and now President-elect Joe Biden had brain surgery on 2 occasions in 1988. He suffered from nerve pain in his neck in his neck February of the late 80s, which, according to the New York Times, he thought was due to a viral infection. In his autobiography, Promises to Keep, he wrote that he passes out from the pain in the hotel room for 4 or 5 hours. He was admitted to a Delaware hospital before he was transferred to Walter Reed Army Medical Center, where he underwent a 6-hour surgical procedure to fix an aneurysm that started leaking at the base of his brain. In May of the same year, Biden underwent a second operation to repair another aneurysm on the opposite side of his brain that was at risk of bursting. During the 2008 presidential race, Capitol physician Dr. Isold said that Biden had recovered fully without continued effects from the brain issues he experienced decades prior. I hope for this man the best. I will never gloat over someone suffering a condition like this. I wouldn't wish conditions like this on my worst enemies. And I genuinely mean that. I mean, when it comes to the culture war and the crisis, I want to be victorious on the merits and strive towards a better future of compassion, reason, understanding, personal responsibility, individual liberties. But still, even with individual liberties comes a shared collective goal, right? So I want to see this country improve through reason, not through suffering. And so, look, far be it from me to ever say anything like that, because you know what happens? There's something called poetic justice. And I've had my fair share, insulting people. And then I have these stories where it's like I've been hanging out with friends and would rag on someone. And then the next day I would meet them, someone like I didn't know. And I'd be like, that person's this, that, or otherwise. And the next day I'm meeting them, like, now I feel really bad. So I'll try to just, be a bit nicer, as it were. And for all I know, maybe you or I ends up in a position like Joe Biden with a serious aneurysm or requiring surgeries. And I could only hope that people would be compassionate. I know they won't. I know that you're going to see people reveling and cheering for pain and suffering. I'm not all about that. But let's talk about the age of Joe Biden and what's going on with his presidency. This is from August 20th. We'll consider this one of those flashback episodes like they do in sitcoms where they do all rehashing. Most voters deem Biden unfit to be president, poll shows. Fewer than 40% of likely voters believe Joe Biden is carrying out the duties of the presidency, according to a poll released Friday, as the U.S. evacuation of Afghanistan continues to spiral out of control. Now, it is from Rasmussen, and many people think Rasmussen is biased, or perhaps you think Rasmussen is actually just more accurate, because in a lot of ways they are. But regardless, it's not the only poll to exist showing this, which brings me now to the more modern state of affairs. The Truman Show presidency. Interesting. Biden ridiculed for using fake White House set. I think by now you've realized there exists a carefully crafted reality in the mainstream media, shielding people from what's actually going on in this country. I don't believe that Joe Biden is a functional president. I think the deep state, the bureaucratic state, the permanent government, the intelligence community are the ones that are actually pulling the strings, as they tend to be. In which case, Biden is nothing more than a marionette. That's why no one really cares about where he is or what he's doing. My question is, why is he using a fake White House set? Why is the media lying about it? Again, you take a look at the age of this man, and I have to wonder if there are deeper medical issues at play. Fox News reports social media users shamed and mocked President Biden Wednesday after he spoke once again from a fake White House set that featured a digital monitor showing the Rose Garden in full bloom. The reason Biden uses this bizarre virtual set for televised meetings and not an actual room like East Room, Cabinet, Oval, Roosevelt, Sit Room, etc., is because it allows him to read a script directly from a face-on monitor and without a teleprompter glass that can be seen on camera. Stephen Miller, who served as senior advisor to former President Donald Trump, wrote on Twitter, and I believe that's likely the reason. If he was in any other place in the White House, they'd have to wheel in some kind of large teleprompter. And we've already seen he does use them, and they're massive, which makes me wonder, is the president fit to serve? Is this 78-year-old man cognitively functioning? I think the answer is overwhelmingly no. That's why they don't let him take questions. But then who's not letting him do what? Who's in charge of this man? My friends, when you see stories about the elderly being admitted to hospitals, I just think Joe Biden, he's been flying back to Delaware. We don't know who's been visiting him. I'm willing to bet it's doctors. And I'm not trying to say that to be mean. The guy needs doctors. But they don't want to make they don't want people to see that. So instead, he just keeps going back to Delaware. I'm sure this dude is being... He may as well. You ever play Fallout New Vegas, where what's the guy's name? I can't remember the guy's name. The main villain or the main antagonist is like this old man who's like being on life support with all his machines. That's what it feels like. The video set, which was constructed across the White House in the South Court Auditorium in the Eisenhower Executive Office Building, is used by Biden for video conferences and events broadcast online, featuring professional monitors and lighting. It is the same set Biden used to show himself receiving a third dose of the Pfizer vaccine. Truman Show presidency, saith Jack Posobiec. Do they not allow him in the actual White House? Kimberly Morin wondered. Is it a common thing? Fox 19 asked. I saw pics of the set when he got the booster shot. I actually didn't believe it was real. Take a look at this. Benny Johnson says, why does Joe Biden feel the need to use a fake White House set across the street from the actual White House? I don't know. How about this one? PolitiFact. You're going to love it. The White House, quote, created a fake set for President Joe Biden to get his booster shot. The entire Biden presidency is one giant charade. False. How do you declare an opinion to be false? Okay, the first part I get they're saying is fake, but I love the manipulation from the likes of PolitiFact. I just love the political manipulation. No, the White House didn't create a fake set for just Joe Biden's booster shot. Oh, there it is. Just. Oh, you clever wordsmiths, you. They did create a fake White House set for Joe Biden, and they used it for his booster shot, but also for other things. So this is the game they play. We had Project Veritas on the show this past week. And was that on Monday or was that last week? And it's funny because they had this big expose that fetal cells are used in the testing of the Pfizer COVID mRNA vaccine. And I told James, you know what they're going to do? Someone's going to say, why do you use, can you answer this? The story says you used fetal cells in the testing of this vaccine. And they'll respond with a non sequitur. We do not use, this is wrong. These stories are conspiracy theories. We do not use fetal cells in the vaccine. It is not the case. Whoa. We didn't say in the vaccine. We said in the testing phase. That's exactly what they did. The media came out with fact checks saying viral story from Project Veritas has people believing that fetal cells are in vaccines. No, that's never what was claimed. These people are so vile. There's another story going around. Donald Trump urges Republicans not to vote. Never happened. It didn't happen. I mean, maybe there's a story from way back when Trump said something, but I mean, like right now, the story they're claiming, because Trump issued a statement saying that if we don't get to the bottom of the election issues, then Republicans won't be voting in 22 or 24. Sounds like he's saying no one will have confidence in the elections. He didn't say, hey, everybody, don't do this. He didn't say it. The media lies. Here we go. If your time is short, Biden received his booster shot in the South Court Auditorium of the Eisenhower Executive Office Building, a frequent venue for White House news events and photo ops. The backdrop behind Biden as he was getting his booster shot wasn't created for the event. It has been used 5 days earlier for a global coronavirus summit. Louis Jacobson, who wrote this, you got to know he knows what he's doing, right? He knows he is playing dirty games. I just want to imagine this, he's the guy who wrote the fact check. I want to imagine this cheery-eyed little 9-year-old Louis Jacobson writer who is playing around. It's the late 80s. And then, the teacher, he goes to school. What do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a journalist and I'll report the truth. And then we'll make, hold accountable the powers. Or actually, you know what? Maybe that's not even the joke. Maybe the joke is when he was a little kid, he was like, one day I'm going to be a real journalist and I'll manipulate the public to protect corrupt individuals. Is that what his plan was? Because I'm imagining this guy was sitting there and they're like, hey, here's a fact check. A bunch of people are mocking Joe Biden over his Truman Show presidency. How can we trick people into thinking it's fake? Wow. When the fact checkers are the fake news, that's something truly, truly incredible, isn't it? The real story and the criticism accurately portrayed by Fox News is that he's using a fake White House set. That's it. They add it was created for this one event, which is not what people claimed. It's amazing. It's just absolutely incredible how they play these dirty games. And once you understand the manipulation, it helps you see through it. So you have to wonder about, what's going on with Bill Clinton. But again, Bill Clinton's not the president, so I'm not going to cry about it. I'm not that worried. Joe Rogan got some heat because a couple weeks ago, he questioned whether or not Biden even actually got a booster shot. He was like, would they really risk a live, display with a potential adverse reaction? My opinion is, yeah, because the risk's really low. It's a good question. He's the president. They got to keep appearances up. So maybe, Joe's saying they would give him saline or something. I just think they gave him the booster shot. People really overestimate the adverse event risk of these things. He probably got a sore arm or whatever. Occam's razor, man. I'm not here to hate on someone or just believe something because it's convenient. The simple solution tends to be the correct one. And its simple solution is they just gave the dude a booster shot. But check this out. Democrats are worried. Fox News says, press suddenly grappling with Biden's political slide as Democrats grow worried. Biden is starting to own the lack of results as well as the blunders. Very interesting. It's almost like someone flipped a switch and the press suddenly discovered that Joe Biden is unpopular, or perhaps that Democrats are increasingly nervous about the fate of the Biden presidency. But the previous conventional wisdom that Biden had simply hit a rough patch is being replaced by a more anguished debate. Each poll has been dutifully reported, each setback adequately chronicled, but there was no sense of critical mass as with yesterday's Politico headline. The president's decline is alarming. Biden trapped in coronavirus malaise. Now, I always hasten to add that polls are a snapshot and politics can be ephemeral. It would make no more sense to write off Biden than it did when he got trounced in Iowa and New Hampshire. Biden's problem is larger than the press, but his unusually low media profile isn't helping him. He grants few interviews, takes questions a couple times a week, and seems uninterested in driving a consistent media message. So the story becomes about vaccine mandate battles, or Hill gridlock, or Haitian migrants, with Biden and his team playing catch up or worse, looking like bystanders. Biden doesn't need to talk to reporters 4 times a day, as Donald Trump often did, but while sticking to mostly scripted events, worked fine in the campaign, and when things were going well, it's a strategy that is ill-suited for turbulent times. No. So I can't tell you where we end up, to be completely honest. We have this from Sky News. People can see the serious mental decline of Joe Biden, even over in Australia. They're saying this. He is an old, old man. And now we bring it all back into context. Bill Clinton is an old man, and he's sick because of a urinary tract infection. He's in the ICU, and I wish him the best. Not a fan, for the most part, of the Clintons. I say for the most part because, Bill's a little better than Hillary, but they're still pretty bad. I'm not a fan of the establishment or any of that stuff. And with seeing a story like this, I have to wonder about the health of Joe Biden, who is older than Bill Clinton. This is what you get when people just hate Donald Trump. And it makes me wonder about what's going to potentially happen come 2024. I don't think Trump's going to be the right answer because he'll also be particularly old. How old is Trump now? He's 74, I think. I don't know. He's going to be older in 2024. This is 3 years from now. And then you expect him to be president for another 4 years after that. That would be I'm pretty sure that would be into his 80s. So I don't think that makes sense. I do take a look at someone like Ron DeSantis. Dude's a lot younger. He's much more with it. He's much bolder, and he's more tactful. Maybe it's time that we all, as the American people, started talking about the age of our politicians. This is what's really interesting. We have an aging political class. We have an aging workforce, period. What happens when they all age out? You know what? Just watching this country crumble. And for the most part, I blame boomers. I do. I don't blame them as individuals. I blame them as the avalanche. The snowflake doesn't blame itself for the avalanche, but it's certainly a part of it. You see, young people, millennials, Gen Z, aren't taking these jobs. They're not becoming truck drivers. They're not becoming politicians. They're doing a lot of nothing. Now, they'll come out and they'll say, but we're struggling. No, they went to college. You know, it was always a bad idea to put all your eggs in one basket. Everybody should get an arts degree. Okay, well, who's going to run the government? Who has got the experience? Who's got the skills? Apparently nobody. The people that we need in government have like a good combination of community service, military service, and business experience. Instead, we get career politicians like Bernie Sanders. We get retired businessmen who then just go into politics because for, whatever, revolving door policies. We don't really have expert statesmen. I think Ron Paul, he was a true statesman. The goal of a true leader is to work to better the lives of the followers of the people in the country, but we don't have any of that. We just have lies, manipulation, and exploitation. We have become a nation of people seeking to extract as much value for ourselves to watch everything else burn. And so the left will come out and say, why won't the right get on board with collective identity, and common goals with the COVID vaccine? It's because you guys are liars. Because you lie all the time. It's just lie, 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 lie. But the right certainly loves America and believes in national cohesion. The left just doesn't. They believe in tribal cohesion. These things won't coexist. But I suppose we have a few more years of Joe Biden, assuming all goes well. So we'll see how it plays out. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.